All right, let's dive in. OpenAI, the minds behind ChatGPT, just went through a massive corporate reshuffle. And really, this is a story about a whole lot of money, a ton of power, and what the future of AI is actually going to look like. So we're going to break down what's really changed and figure out who's actually calling the shots now. To really get what's at stake here, you have to start with this number, $500 billion. I mean, that's the mind-blowing valuation of OpenAI right now. We are so far beyond a simple research lab. This is one of the most valuable and fastest-growing companies on the entire planet.
And a number like that brings up the single most important question, doesn't it? With that much money and that much influence on the line, who is really pulling the strings over there? Well, believe me, the answer just got a whole lot more complicated.
To make sense of it all, we've got to start by looking at their brand new corporate structure. They've cooked up this really unique hybrid model, and it's basically a high-wire balancing act between their original mission to, save humanity and their very real need to make massive amounts of money.
So here's how it shakes out. What used to be the nonprofit research lab is now officially called the OpenAI Foundation. Simple enough. But the for-profit side has been totally reorganized into something new, the OpenAI Group PBC. And trust me, those three letters PBC are a very big deal.
So what the heck is a public benefit corporation? Well, it's a special kind of for-profit company. But unlike a normal corporation that only cares about making money for shareholders, a PBC is legally bound to balance profit with creating a positive impact on society. This was not an accident. They chose this structure for a very specific reason.
Now, let's look at who owns a piece of this new PBC pie. You've got employees and investors holding the biggest chunk at 47%. Microsoft has a hefty 27%. But here's the kicker. Look at that last slice. The original nonprofit, the foundation, still owns a crucial 26%.
And this is where their whole strategy just clicks into place. OpenAI basically said it themselves. The whole idea is to create this self-fueling engine. The for-profit company makes a ton of money. That makes the nonprofit's piece of the pie worth more, which then funnels cash right back into the mission. It's designed so that commercial success directly fuels their original purpose.
Okay, so you can't talk about OpenAI without talking about the other giant in the room, Microsoft. They've poured more than $13 billion into this thing, and this new setup completely redefines the relationship and, frankly, the power dynamic between them.
So, with all these changes, where does Microsoft, the single biggest investor, actually stand? The new details of their partnership are pretty fascinating.
Okay, first, let's just look at the raw numbers. Microsoft's actual ownership stake went down a little bit, from around 32.5% to about 27%. But, and this is a huge but, don't let that fool you. The value of that smaller piece has exploded to a staggering $135 billion.
But this is about way more than money. The really crucial change here is about freedom. Before, Microsoft pretty much had OpenAI locked in. They had to use Microsoft's cloud computing. Well, not anymore. Now, OpenAI is free to use other providers, and they can even team up with other companies to build new stuff. That's a serious shift in power.
And the updates don't stop there. Microsoft now has the green light to try and build AGI all on its own. Their rights to use OpenAI's models are locked in until 2032. But, and this is a really interesting one, any consumer hardware that OpenAI makes, yeah, Microsoft doesn't get IP rights to that.
Now, publicly, of course, everyone is playing nice. Microsoft put out a statement saying this just makes both companies stronger and better positioned. It's the official happy story for what has become a very, very complex relationship.
But let's be clear, this whole reshuffle isn't just about spreadsheets and org charts for today. It's about writing the rules for the ultimate prize, the thing that drives every single thing they do at OpenAI, winning the race to build artificial general intelligence.
And for anyone who needs a quick refresher, AGI is the holy grail. We're not talking about an AI that's good at just one thing. We're talking about a system that is as smart or smarter than a human at pretty much everything that matters for the economy. If and when that happens, it literally changes the world overnight. So, because the stakes are so ridiculously high, they've actually built a formal process for deciding when AGI has arrived. It's not just up to Sam Altman to say, we did it. First, OpenAI has to make the claim. Then, a panel of outside independent experts comes in to check their work. And only if that panel agrees, only then does the big money-sharing deal with Microsoft actually end.
And that, right there, is why all of this matters so much. What they've created is a formal, third-party check on what could easily be the single biggest technological breakthrough in all of human history. It's like they're trying to build a safety valve right into the DNA of the company.
Which brings us to the one final, massive question. This whole complicated setup is a really ambitious attempt to balance the crazy pressure to make a profit against the absolute need for safety. But in a flat-out global race to build a superintelligence, you have to wonder, can a balance like that ever really hold?